Yeah, I think that's a good question, but two jump out at me real quick. Actually, a sequence of games, Notre Dame and then USA, were really good for our team to understand pace, to play with hard skill and pace. And that attention to detail in playing, because those two teams transition extremely quickly, are highly attentive to detail, and and they were both one-goal games, overtime games, whatever. And then the other one was that Lake State game, that first game here, overtime loss to Lake State. That one was hard because we did everything right, and then you're thinking, is this going to be another year like last year? We're following up on all these close games, some overtime games, and we played a really good hockey game, and they were able to win in overtime. So what's that going to do to us? So those, I think, and then from that point on, then we went on a pretty decent streak of pretty consistent hockey. So that one, to me, was hard for the group as far as learning. It was the development program, Notre Dame, and for me, as far as changing some things that we did in practice and things like that, it would have been that Lake State weekend to finally focus and say, listen, we got to spend a lot more. We have to force guys to do more skill work. We have to put it in practice, because guys aren't coming out on their own and doing the skill work. We have to force feed them. So critical. Last year, he had a 20-point freshman year, and which included a hat trick in the GLI championship game of the GLI against Michigan, included an overtime winner in the overtime or double overtime, whatever it was, when we beat Northern at Northern in the playoffs. Then last year he came out, and so he's on a line with Bliss and maybe Hallinan at that time or whoever, and they weren't productive. And then he started getting gripping his stick tight, and you could tell he's questioning everything about his game, because he's internal like that, introverted in some ways like that. So he's overanalyzing his game and things, and the game got hard for him. And so this year, right off the bat, after getting away and focusing and building up his body and things, he's been scoring right from the beginning. So, and what you see out of him is he has the ability to score in big games, which he did in overtime. And he was the one guy that came to my mind going into the overtime on Friday night, is I gotta get him on the ice, because he and Logan Gainey, surprisingly, play well. Logan Gainey in that Northern game as well a couple years ago, 2 goals. When you have guys that perform when it's most needed, that's really what you're looking for. You'd like to have your whole team like that, perform when they're most needed, and those guys have a way of doing that. So with Logan Gainey, Logan Piedla, it's his ability to bounce back and reestablish his career, 20-plus points. What is it, 12, 14 goals now? Something like that. Certainly your centermen make your team go. We moved Bliss to center to make our team go. Your centerman, you look last weekend, those goals out of Gainey, you got to go, points out of Gainey, 2 assists out of Bliss, I think, on the Friday night. Am I right on that? 2 assists, power play assists or something by Gainey, Piedla. So your centers make your team go, and we've had a little bit of a dry spell in recruiting centermen. So vital. Yeah, and again, it's performing when you need to perform. That's what John Wooden, the famous coach, in his pyramid of success, I think he has it right. You have a foundation that works up to your competitive greatness, which is your ability to perform at your best when your best is needed. And you're looking for guys that perform at their best when their best is needed. Now, I know you and I have talked a couple times, over the last few days about your fourth line. They certainly weren't our fourth line. I mean, we're happy if people consider them our fourth line. But to me, whatever line scoring your goals for you is your first line, and so they're productive, and they're showing productive, especially Gainey showing productiveness in his career in big games, and what you're trying to find, you see that's in there, and you want him for his development as both an adult and as a hockey player, to find a way to be at his best all the time. Because can you imagine the level? That's what we say all the time. Can you imagine the level he could be at? Could you imagine the level Crespi could be at if Crespi looks like, I got a text from a former player and the other day, boy, I loved watching number 10. Hard to believe. I can't believe that's his first points of the year. Join the club because he's got all the talent. He's got all the talent. And we tell him all the time he's got all the talent. We all have the barriers that hold us back, and our job as coaches is to make them uncomfortable enough to break through those barriers. Sometimes they hate us for it, and sometimes they love us for it. So ultimately, you hope in the end they at least respect you for trying to get the best out of them. Win and not be done. One and done. This was actually the format that was supposed to be last year. COVID changed a lot of things. Like the overtime rule this year, the NCAA. Last year, an overtime game, the last year was the first year of the 3-on-3 overtime. They decided, because there wasn't interleague play, that they weren't going to use those as losses because there was no interleague play to compare. So they threw it out last year. We thought they threw it out. This year they implemented it and said they now are the 55-45 split, blah, blah, blah. Similar, this format was supposed to be the format last year. And the reason being for the format is that over history what they found is that it hurts a team more to lose 2 games if they were to lose a 2 out of 3 series than it does to both lose a single game and be done, or to win the series and lose a game, like win 2 games to 1. That you overall, winning that game does way more for you, and losing just 1 game does a lot more than the potential losing 2 games if you're a bubble team. Now, you look at us this year, we're a 10th ranked team. So 2 losses could make a much bigger difference than 1 loss could if we won or if we lost. 2 losses or even 1 loss. 1 loss just in 1 game will have less impact on us. So I understand why they did it. The Big Ten does it. I don't know about what the NCHC is doing, but there's other leagues that have gone to this, and it's strictly from the people who study the pairwise that the whole job for a league is try to get the most teams in they can. So that's what so you have to be your best for 1 game. Now the other side of it is it'll prepare you for the national tournament as well, because from this point on everything's one and done. So it's not like you can, okay, if we lose Friday, the hockey side of me, the side of me that grew up on the Canadian border playing the majority of my games in my lifetime against Canadian teams, is to play a series, let the best team win. But that's not what this is about. This isn't about that. This is about when everybody is grouped together to get into one pool, and basketball format, call it whatever you want. So, yeah, we haven't really made a decision on who's starting on Saturday night. So, no, I let Jamie handle. First of all, Mark Sinclair could easily play this game. You know that, and I know that. You're around this team every day. Jamie's put up Richter, Hoey Baker numbers for 2 years straight. Blake. Yeah, my deal with it is stay out of the way. Hey, you're doing really good. Keep it up. I mean, I'm not acting as a goalie coach. I act more in my recommendations to Jamie on how I want Jamie to handle him than I am handling him. I think I think the goalies understand that whatever Jamie's doing, I mentor Jamie, and Jamie's mentoring them, and I'm still in my own way mentoring Jamie to mentor them. So Jamie does it. We talk about what we think the tendencies are for what we're going to face, and make sure that the goalie work that week covers that for the starter, at least for Blake. I talk way more to the power play unit. I mean, as far as strategy, I look at my biggest thing with Blake right now is I can read whether he's fighting it, whether he's not fighting it, whether he's and how do I want to run practices based around him just from the goalie standpoint. But as far as coaching him and things like that, if I'm going to vent about anything, it'd be to Jamie, but we haven't had to do that. Jamie's done a great job. All of our coaches have done a great job. Brooksy's done a great job. Tyler's done a great job. So, our whole staff, you included, have done even Calvin back there has done a pretty good job. I don't think that's, I just want to be authentic to who I am. again, what I want the guys to know most is that my job is to make them uncomfortable, and to make them to find comfort in being uncomfortable, to hump them when I feel they need to be humped. And it's the captain's job to let me know we're fine, we got it, or we need more of that, or whatever. It's so. No, I don't keep my distance from them at all, and I challenge them. And what I try not to be at all, at any time, what I try not to be is sarcastic. I try to be very direct, in too much so, probably, right? Too much so at times, on, hey, listen, if you don't get this, you're not going to play. Someone's got to do this job. Guys get paid to do nothing more than I'm asking you to do. Well, you hope they respect you. Do I try to? Am I trying to be friends with them? No. And yes, I try to treat them how I would want to be treated as a player. I don't want to be sarcastic, but I want to know what's going on, and and that's how my coaches were. So I don't have a different pulse to go from. Like, if you look at the guys that I've, even back to my high school coach, Fred DeVono, but all the way through, they've all been, from the guys from Frank Anzalone to the extreme, to Jeff Jackson, to Walt Kyle, to maybe not so much Mel, but they're all very hands-on with their players. To the point, like with Walt Kyle, where Walt Kyle could say to a guy, "You can't do that. You can do that. I'll let him do that. You're not him. You can't do that." That was his pro style, but it's all direct and not liked all the time. I don't know if there's. I hope there's respect. But really, the job is for them to perform, and for us to all figure that out later, and for me not to do things that stunt their growth. That's all we talk about is growth. And we try to simplify it as much as we can. And some people are good with that, some people aren't, because you're accountable to growth. Directly and indirectly, and some things with that whole line. The biggest thing I think with them right now is the distractions. Everything going through their mind on what's going to happen in a week, in 2 weeks, and whatever. That's the distractions that are on their mind. I'm sure they're having conversations with their agents and things like that, and that's the part where their effort is there. Their effort was there last weekend for sure. Like I said, Blister got 2 assists on Friday night. Their 5-on-5 play was average. Not bad, and again, their energy level was good, but to me it's more psychological right now, and I think it's distractions. And I talked to a good friend of mine, Darren Madeley, who I worked with at Lake State, and Darren was saying to me that his sophomore year, when he was getting a lot of attention, won the NCAA his 90, 92. Anyways, his sophomore year, when they didn't win it, was his hardest year, and that was your loss to Clarkson, I think, in the NCAA tournament, 2 games at home, 2 out of 3 series at home. Number 1 ranked team, only like 30-something wins going into the NCAA tournament, 3 losses, ended up losing 2 or 3 to Clarkson and not go to the Final Four. That was the hard year on him because of those distractions. Then the next year, winning it, he said was a piece of cake because he'd been through it one time, and it was enjoy it and roll with it. So when you're going through this stuff for the first time, you can't explain it. You can't explain what you go through, and it's. I would love for our guys to be where Mankato is right now, where a year ago they were, trying to get to the Final Four, and then got to the Final Four and had all those NHL people and all that around them all the time. And so this year, it's just put that in the back burner and let's just play. We've been through that. We know what it's all about. Let's just focus on playing. There's similarities between the two teams. There's differences, but there's similarities, and the similarities are the areas that give us the most opportunity to grow. The similarities are the difficulties we had, because there's probably a good chance they fit into what Bemidji does, and there's probably a good chance that Bemidji will try to accentuate that. So that's our focus. It's, as always, is trying to, I think that's the area where we can grow the most, is the similarities between the two between the way they play, the two teams play, and then our ability to use both as a target to address an attack. Yeah, they've been good. They're on break. They seem relaxed and calm. Practices have been good and upbeat, and yeah, I think like this week's practices are better than last week's practices were. So maybe again, the edge. We've played for this. We lose 2 games. You know what? Our season could be done. It's been too good of a year. So I think that it's been actually a really good week with a lot of balance and depth and no glaring weaknesses as we speak right now.